On today's episode, we're talking about my top Week 3 waiver wire pickups coming right up. And what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Gridiron Fantasy Football Podcast for Tuesday, September 21st, 2021. And I am Chip, I'm your host, and thank you so much for listening today. If you're a new listener, thank you so much for joining us as well. If you'd like to share our podcast, you can find us over on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and now on Pandora. If you'd like to watch us, you can watch us over on YouTube at Gridiron Fantasy Football, so please do me a favor, hit subscribe so you don't miss any more episodes. And on today's episode, we're talking about my top waiver wire pickups for Week 3. This is the beginning of building that championship roster. You're not going to win everything in the draft, so you have to build your team. There's guys that you're going to draft that you're going to drop in because they're just dead space on your roster. But this is why you listen to these shows. You get the better, waiver wire pickups, and hopefully start building something. Now, if you're 0-2 like me, I officially am 0-2 in my main league. Never been 0-2 before in this league, so it's different territory for me. So there's a decision I have to make on guys that I drafted. Do I want to keep them? Is there still it's still early in the season, so do I want to just hold on for another week or two and kind of see if I can, just kind of build off of that? But I really think the first few weeks of waiver wire pickups are going to be very crucial for contending for the playoffs and in the championship. Just because we see more breakouts happen throughout the first few weeks of the season. Always I'm a guy of a rule of three. Like, I want to see things happen 3 weeks in a row before, I will add somebody on my roster, but then I won't play them, feel comfortable playing them until I actually see consistency with target share, with maybe attempts with a running back and, a rookie quarterback or somebody else who I want to stream. So it's still early, but, you don't want to miss out on guys. I mean, these are weeks like last year we picked up like a Chase Claypool or a Justin Jefferson, all that stuff. So these guys can be very crucial to your roster. So this is where you have to try to put in some claims, try to better your roster. Now, I'm not saying you drop somebody that is, potential starter on your team just to add a waiver wire pickup, because more than likely, a lot of these guys, you're picking up are these, you never know type of guys. Like, but you don't never want to drop somebody who is a pretty good fantasy player that just had a couple bad weeks. So just be careful on who you drop and whatnot. And that's why you always, on Wednesdays when the waiver wires, like the waiver wire claims go through, you always want to look at the players who get dropped, because sometimes people will drop better players for the hot waiver wire pickups. So always look at your drops on Wednesday morning to see who's been dropped and put a claim in those guys if you see somebody who's better than what was on free agency. So before we get into my top waiver wire pickups, let's talk about some of the news. There's a lot of news on Monday about a lot of injuries that took place on Sunday. So let's start with the Rams. So Darrell Henderson is dealing with the rib cartilage issue. Sean McVay feels like they're optimistic that he will play for Week 3 against the Bucs, but the problem is the Bucs have a very stout run defense. So this is a very tough matchup for Darrell Henderson, or even if Shoney Michel is the starter. It's just one of those things where it's just not a good matchup. So if they send him out for Week 3 against the Bucs, it is what it is. But be prepared. If I'm a Darrell Henderson owner, so I have to figure out, do I want to waste fab money on Shoney Michel or just kind of hold out and just kind of take it on the chin again? But we'll see. But that's the news right now, as of right now, for Darrell Henderson. The 49ers running back Jermichael Hasty suffered a high ankle sprain, this week, and he's considered a week-to-week. Now, there's different grades of severities of high ankle sprains. We've seen like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Michael Thomas last year dealing with this. So it depends on the grade. There's different grades of injury, but week-to-week, that's optimistic. So I won't be surprised if he misses a few weeks. But it's one of those things where now they're getting depleted. Elijah Mitchell is the guy right now. Now you still got Wilson Jr. on IR. Sermon, does he come back? Does he pass the concussion protocol? Does he play next week? So there's a lot of things that are happening in that backfield. They're going to bring some running backs in to kind of see what's available. I think they're bringing Duke Johnson and Lamar Miller. So the 49ers right now are getting depleted at running back. And then the Houston Texans quarterback Tyrod Taylor looks like he will miss the next 3 to 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. He will not be playing Thursday night. So we got a great matchup, the Texans versus the Panthers, with a backup quarterback for the Texans. So another just phenomenal Thursday night game for us to watch. And then the Raiders, we got Josh Jacobs and Derek Carr. They're both questionable for week 3. They're dealing with the ankle injuries. So, it's one of those things where Josh Jacobs, he's not going to play unless he's fully healthy. They have too much investment with Josh Jacobs. There's no reason to rush him. I know from a fantasy standpoint, you guys want him to play, but him as a person comes first. His injury, getting healthy, that is priority. So for him, you got to look at either Peyton Barber or Kenyon Drake as maybe fill-ins if you desperately need those guys to play for you. Looks like Brian Flores of the Miami Dolphins, the head coach, said Tua bruised his ribs. He's day-to-day. He may play against the Raiders in week 3, but like I said, a lot of these rib cartilage issues or rib injuries, as long as there's no fractures, all about pain tolerance. So they'll probably take some type of pain medication in order to play through it. But it's one of those things. It's a wait and see. And the Urban Meyer said Laviska Shenault is expected to be available this week against the Cardinals. He injured his shoulder on Sunday. Got some testing done. Looks like he's going to be good to go or expected to be available. So that's something to kind of pay attention to. And then Matt Nagy of the Chicago Bears, he said that if Andy Dalton is healthy, he is the starter. But Andy Dalton's dealing with a bone bruise in his knee. No imaging came back positive to any type of ligament tear or anything like that. That'll leave him out for a prolonged period of time. So it looks like he is going to be week to week. But honestly, I think this is the door opening for Justin Fields. I understand Matt Nagy saying that Andy Dalton is the starter if he's healthy, but why not just play Justin Fields? This is why you drafted him. This is why you moved up in the draft to get somebody like this. Just go ahead and put him in the game and play out the season with Justin Fields as your starting quarterback. Now, if something happens like last year, we saw Tua struggle, so Ryan Fitzpatrick came in. So if Andy Dalton is healthy and they're starting Justin Fields, then okay, go ahead and figure it out that way. But I think that you draft somebody. He's a rookie. He may not be ready to play, but he has to be ready to play now because Andy Dalton's hurt. So you might as well just kind of keep him in there and see what you have in Justin Fields and moving forward. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Deontay Johnson, he avoided a major knee injury in week 2 against the Raiders. There was a play like at the end of the game that he got tied up in and he hurt his knee. Luckily, there wasn't anything significant that was caused there, so he is hopefully going to play in week 3, but to be determined. We have to figure out his participation in practice throughout the week. And then the Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski had said Jarvis Landry is considered week to week. He's dealing with the MCL injury. So not good overall for any pass catcher or even Baker Mayfield. I mean, OBJ may be coming back, but they're so depleted right now. You can't really trust any pass catcher for the Cleveland Browns. That means Baker Mayfield's value goes down a little bit as well. So I think this bumps up Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt just because of they're a run-heavy team already. But this just kind of solidifies, the Browns running game when they have all these pass catchers just out because of injury. So that is all the updated news as of right now. Now let's talk about this Monday night game. So this actually was a pretty entertaining game to start off. The Lions were playing pretty hard. They had a lead, and they lost 35-17. I mean, they just couldn't do anything in the second half. This was the Aaron and Aaron show, right? This was Aaron Rodgers throwing for 4 touchdown passes, 3 of those going to Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones had 17 carries for 67 yards and a rushing touchdown. Then he had 3 receiving touchdowns. Robert Tonyan had a touchdown. Devontae Adams was 8 for 121 on 9 targets. So a bounce back game for the Packers, right? This is a game they needed. There was a not really a must win, but for them to get their morale back on track, I mean, they had to come out and show up against the Lions. The Lions played them hard, and all of a sudden they just kind of fell apart. They just unraveled. Jared Goff was looking decent, and then he just has some really bad turnovers. And he had that really bad interception at the end of the game. It is what it is. This is Jared Goff, right? This is someone that had a very good game in week 1. I mean, he wasn't terrible when it comes to like fantasy stuff this week, but you weren't playing him anyways unless you're in a 2 quarterback league and you desperately had to play him. But overall, Jared Goff had 246 yards and 2 touchdowns and interception. Then he gave you another 4 carries for 46 yards. So Not a bad game. TJ Hawkinson had a good game. He was 8 for 66 for 1 touchdown on 9 targets. Then Cephas, he was 4 for 63 in the touchdown, so that was a good outing for him. DeAndre Swift, he had 8 carries for 37 yards, and then he had 4 catches for 41 yards, so quieter game from him. Same with Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams didn't really give you much on the ground or in the passing game, so if you're relying on those guys, if you're going against Aaron Jones, I feel bad for you because you're probably going into this game thinking, okay, I'm up 40-something points or just under 40 points. I should be good. And then he puts up like 40-something points in fantasy. So, that's what Aaron Jones is. Aaron Jones is a guy that will get you like 3 points one week and then give you 40 points one week. And that it's so inconsistent. Like, he's a very good running back, but when he has all these inconsistencies throughout the season, he's definitely that definition of like a boom-bust stud because last week was awful. This week he was great. So hopefully you guys were able to capitalize on that and win. But overall, it wasn't as bad of a Monday Night Football game that I was thinking based on the matchup. But now in our next game we get the Texans versus the Panthers. So at least we get Christian McCaffrey, right? That's probably the biggest positive of Thursday Night Football. So that is the recap of Monday Night Football. So let's now go ahead and go into the top waiver wire pickups for week 3. This is based on my opinion. I got a few guys on this list. It's not a huge list, but these are guys that should be available in your league, but you never know. So at quarterback, I only have one guy here, and that's Derek Carr. He's 35% owned, and honestly, he's right now after 2 games, he's a top 10 quarterback. He's played the Ravens and he's played the Pittsburgh Steelers. So 2 of the toughest AFC North teams. Their defenses, how physical they are. He's had great games. Now he is a little banged up. If he does play against Miami, it's another tough defense. But how he played against the Ravens and then the Steelers, I don't. If you want to stream Derek Carr, it's a good possibility. I think there's guys out there you could start over him. But like Derek Carr, I benched Derek Carr this week for Mac Jones. That was a huge mistake. I played in a 2 quarterback league, so Patrick Mahomes. In my other dynasty league, I have Patrick Mahomes and Derek Carr as my starters, and then I have Mac Jones. But based on the matchup, I played Mac Jones, and I lost in that league. I got blew out in that league anyway because none of my guys, I had Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift. Those guys are my starting lineup and did nothing for me. So it was a bad game overall for me. But I had benched Derek Carr this week. So, I had said to you guys last week that Jameis Winston was a good streamer against the Panthers, and he put out a dud. So it's just one of those things where you can never, you never can figure this all out. But Derek Carr, as of right now, Derek Carr has been a good quarterback in this league. He's very underrated. I am not sure why, but he's definitely been consistent. He does have his moments, but Derek Carr overall is a very good quarterback. So I think if you want to stream him, if he's healthy to play this week, I think Miami's a good option. I have some honorable mentions here. I have Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold plays against the Texans this week in Thursday Night Football. I think that with him, this is mostly for 2 quarterback leagues or a super flex league. I think based on the matchup, Sam Darnold could have a good game. And my last guy here is Teddy Bridgewater. He plays the Jets. And so Teddy Bridgewater has been doing very well this year. He had a good game this past weekend. So I think Teddy Bridgewater definitely should be considered in a super flex or a 2 quarterback league against the Jets. So those are my 3 quarterbacks, overall that I have on this list. Now moving to running back, I have him here as my running back just because they have him labeled as a running back wide receiver. But I have Cordell Patterson here. He's 14% owned. Against the Bucks, he was 7 for 11 on the ground. He had 5 catches for 58 yards. He scored 2 touchdowns, and he had 15% of the target share. I know Russell Gage got hurt, so it was pretty much Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts. But I think that the way they're used in Cordell Patterson, I think that he's the guy that he's one of those guys where I always say the rule of 3s. That he's a guy I want to see one more. I'll pick him up on my waiver wire, but I want to see one more game of him doing well, and then I can consider him as a flex. I think he can definitely bring some flex value, especially in PPR formats because they use him as a running back wide receiver. So Cordell Patterson is the guy that's on my list. And then my second guy is Sony Michel. Now, he's probably owned a lot of your leagues. He's about 65% owned. He had 10 rush attempts yesterday or on Sunday for 46 yards. And now this is all pending what happens to Darrell Henderson, right? If Darrell Henderson's healthy, he's ready to go, obviously Sony Michel becomes, an afterthought. But we know that the way they're using Henderson as a workhorse running back, if Sony Michel is available based on Darrell Henderson being out, then I think that there's some upside to him with that. But the problem is they play the Bucs defense, and so that's gonna be a really tough game, the Rams versus the Bucs, because the Rams got a tough defense, the Bucs got a tough defense. Offensively, is there going to be enough there to put out very good fantasy production? Who knows? But I mean, the Bucs have Evans, Godwin, Brown, Gronk, on their side, but they got Jalen Ramsey and a good defense, Aaron Donald on their side of the ball, and then for the Rams, obviously they got Matt Stafford, you got Kupp, you got Woods, you got Higbee. So it's going to be a very interesting game for the Bucs. This is going to be a true test for the Bucs coming up. But Sony Michel, he's definitely worth an add just in case Darrell Henderson cannot play. And then my next guy is J.D. McKissic. He had a very dud game in week 1, but he came back with week 2, and this is what we usually will see with J.D. McKissic. He's definitely a flex type of player. He's 36% owned. He was 5 for 83 and 1 on 6 targets, so definitely used like a James White or a Chris Thompson type of role. So I think that if you really need a pinch and you need a flex, I think he's safe. He's just like James White. He's a safe flex. You're gonna get your pass catches. You're gonna get your targets. So I think he's the guy that you could pick up. And Antonio Gibson, right? Like, how's his shoulder doing? Like, it all depends on how he's doing as well. So I think it's a good add. And then here, this is mostly in deeper leagues. My next running back I have is Zach Moss. He's 54% owned. He was a healthy scratch in week 1, came back in week 2, and he did rush 8 times for 26 yards, and he vultured 2 touchdowns. So he did get the touchdowns, but honestly, for Zach Moss, this is more of a stash just in case Devin Singletary gets hurt. Devin Singletary obviously is the starter, but with Zach Moss getting the touchdowns, it's a guy that you could add if you have a deeper bench. Go ahead and add Zach Moss so you can at least play defense just in case something happens with Devin Singletary. And then my honorable mentions right now, like I had mentioned, James White. I added James White last week, and I would have played him, but I had other flex options that actually scored more points than him. So he did score I think 18.5 PPR points, but that is consistent for James White. He's going to get the ball. He's going to get you at least 10 points. So definitely a look see if James White is available. In my handcuffs, I got Kenneth Gainwell of the Eagles. He is the backup behind Miles Sanders. So if something happens to Miles Sanders, Gainwell is the guy there. And then Alexander Mattison. We saw Dalvin Cook get off the field a couple times due to he was limping off the field. He kept on coming back into the game. But for your star guy, Alexander Mattison, this is a guy if you get now, you get him super cheap. You probably can get him for $1 or $2, maybe nothing, because I don't think a lot of people are actually going after Alexander Mattison, because the times that he has actually stepped in for Dalvin Cook hasn't really done well. So it's one of those things where it's good. I'm a Dalvin Cook owner. I would grab him, but I don't know if I want to really give up a player to get him on my roster. If I lose Dalvin Cook, my season it's a crapshoot anyways. I'm 0-2, but it's one of those things where it's good for security. And then another guy too, I just top of my head, if Tony Pollard's available, I doubt he's available, but go grab him, put him on your bench. He could have some flex appeal as well. And then at wide receiver, I think my number one guy is Rondale Moore of the Arizona Cardinals. This rookie's doing very well right now. He's 33% owned. Last week him and Christian Kirk had very good games. This week it was Rondale Moore that had the better game. He had 24.4 PPR points, and he led the team with 8 targets. Now he is definitely he's tied overall in target share for the Cardinals. So I know that a lot of people like Christian Kirk because he's been in the system a lot longer and he's more established. But I don't know. Rondale Moore looked very good, and I think he's definitely worth adding just because that offense right now is clicking on all cylinders. I mean, Kyler Murray looks unstoppable. So even if Rondale Moore is the third option on, you got obviously Hopkins is there. A lot of people think Christian Kirk's the second one, and then Rondale Moore will be third. I still think there's enough volume there, and the way Kyler Murray's playing, I think he's another guy that I will put on my bench, but I want to see how he does in one more week, and then I'll feel comfortable putting him in my lineup. Because in my main league that I talk about mostly on this podcast, we play 3 wide receivers and a flex. So there's weeks that you're going to have to play 4 wide receivers based on your running backs and bye weeks and all that stuff. But I think that he's definitely worth an add. And then this guy, he is still only 13% owned. My next guy is Tim Patrick. He's owned in 13% of leagues. He was 3 for 37 and 1 touchdown on 4 targets. Now, we didn't know exactly how that was all going to play out when Jerry Jeudy went out. So Jerry Jeudy's out for a few weeks. Was it going to be Courtland Sutton that took majority of the target share? Was it going to be Noah Fant like Tim Patrick? Tim Patrick plays a slot, so obviously there's opportunity there. Because Teddy Bridgewater is a short to intermediate type of quarterback. But I think the answer was kind of given to us on Sunday where Courtland Sutton had I think it was 12 targets. And he's the guy for now. I mean, if you have Courtland Sutton on your roster, I stashed him. I grabbed him on 2 of my rosters. And, I think he's a safe play. He had a good matchup against the Jags. They do get the Jets this week, so another good matchup. So I think that Courtland Sutton right now is a really good pickup. Tim Patrick is definitely a guy you can put in your slot, definitely PPR formats, because he is consistently getting you touchdowns. The only thing is he is the third option behind Sutton and Noah Fant. So he's still available in a lot of leagues. And then Sterling Shepard, he's still 50%. He's only 57% owned. And Thursday night had a great game. He was 7 for 113 and a touch on 9 targets. He's a guy that is doing very well in the slot. When he's healthy, he's very consistent. And he's been the most consistent wide receiver on that team for quite some time. I know they got Kenny Galladay, but it just seems like Daniel Jones and Sterling Shepard have this chemistry. And maybe that comes around for Kenny Galladay later on in the season. It depends on when Evan Ingram comes back and he's healthy. And, you got Darius Slayton still. Saquon Barkley still catches balls. So I think overall, I think Sterling Shepard is the safest guy right now for the Giants. So if he's available, definitely pick him up. I would take him over Rondale Moore and Tim Patrick right now if he's available. And then Michael Pittman. My last guy is Michael Pittman. He is owning a lot of leagues, over 60% of leagues, but great game on Sunday. He was 8 for 123. He had 12 targets. Now, granted, there was no Paris Campbell, and then we did see Zach Pascal get the touchdown. However, Michael Pittman is now. He has 24.6% of the target share, so he is the lead wide receiver as of right now with the Colts. So with that being the case, the volume's going to be there. He didn't get the touchdown, but I think because of the volume, hopefully Carson Wentz is okay to play moving forward. So if that's the case, Michael Pittman's definitely worth an add. Maybe a guy you put on your bench, kind of see what happens, and then if he starts being consistent, then you can be more comfortable playing him. But the thing is we're hopefully this is the start of a breakout for him. He was good last year, or he was kind of struggling last year as well. He was kind of hit or miss, but this year, hopefully this stays consistent with Carson Wentz as long as he is playing. And I have an honorable mention here is Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs, he is your boom bust player for the Raiders. He's the guy that can get you a one catch for 70 yards and a touchdown, or he gets you nothing. And this is just the price you pay for playing a guy like that. He's almost like a Robbie Anderson, where he may have that big touchdown for you, but is it me the week that he's on your bench? He's still third on the. I think it's Waller and Hunter Renfrow as the two guys that are target share leaders, and then he's third. So it's one of those things where do you play that game with Henry Ruggs? Do you want to see more consistency out of him? I know I do, but I figure I'd add him here just in case you guys need another player to pick up. And then that's it for all the wide receivers. And for tight end, I only have one guy here, and it's only because their wide receiver core is just completely depleted. And that's Austin Hooper of the Cleveland Browns. On Sunday, he was 5 for 40 on 5 targets. And he's here because, honestly, there's no wide receiver options right now because of injury. They may get OBJ back. Jarvis Landry is going to be week to week. Who else is there going to be? I mean, there's Harrison Bryant. So it's just one of those things where I think that this could be a beneficiary because of the lack of skilled wide receivers around that offense. But it's one of those things where if you're talking about starting Austin Hooper, you must be in a very big league with every other tight end not available. So if you're adding Austin Hooper, then your team is probably hot garbage. But just a guy that if you need a tight end, need somebody to stream. If you have dealing with the injury and that's the best option, then I think Austin Hooper could be decent until all those pass catchers come back. So that's the only tight end I have. And then the top defense streamers I got for this week, the Panthers have been playing very well. You saw what they did against the Saints. Pretty much kept Alvin Kamara in check the whole entire game. Alvin Kamara had one of his worst fantasy games and NFL games in his career against them. They played the Texans with a backup quarterback. So I think it's one of those things where you just have to, if you're looking for a defensive stream, I think this is a good week to stream the Panthers defense. And the Broncos played the Jets, so we saw what the Patriots did to Zach Wilson and the Jets. Completely made him look just one-dimensional. So I think that this is a good play as well. So those are my top waiver wire pickups for week 3. Like I said, at quarterback, I got Derek Carr, and then honorable mention was Sam Darnold and Teddy Bridgewater. Running back, there's Cordero Patterson, Sony Michel, J.D. McKissick, Zach Moss, and then I had James White there to see if he is available, Kenneth Gainwell, and Alexander as handcuffs. At wide receiver, I have Rondale Moore, Tim Patrick, Sterling Shepard, Michael Pittman, and then Henry Ruggs as an honorable mention. And then tight end, I got Austin Hooper. And then my defense streamers are the Panthers versus the Texans and the Broncos versus the Jets. So that's it for today. That's all the waiver wire pickups for week 3. Let me know who you're targeting in the comments. Please, let's engage this year and let me know what you guys are thinking on who you want to pick up. Don't blow your wad on your fab on these guys. Just, you know how you guys how these guys are in your league, how aggressive they can be. So just kind of see what you need and don't overshoot for somebody. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Like I said, please like, comment, and share the podcast and the YouTube with your friends and family. I'll be back on Thursday when I talk about the Thursday night football matchup and then all my starts and sits for week 3 as well. So don't forget to watch that. And then if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us over on the Gridiron Pod on Facebook and Twitter, and then on Instagram at Gridiron Baseball. So hope you guys have a good day. Hope you're able to win your week and not start 0-2 like me, but it's not over yet. Continue to fight, continue to pick up these guys, and see what happens, all right? Have a good day. We'll see you later.